Joining us on the show once again today, a man I can now proudly call a returning champion, of course, to this podcast, a man you all know best as the head coach of the Arizona men's tennis team, a team back into the Sweet 16 following their 4-0 win over Harvard in round two. Welcome back onto our show, head coach Clancy Shields. Coach, it is always good to see you. Welcome back to the show. How are you and the team feeling as you get ready for the Sweet 16?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. We're feeling good. It's always fun to go to new places with your team. We've never been here, and so this has been kind of a treat to spend some time in a new place with our team. And I'd be remiss to not start the show with some of the guys on the team that are avid listeners of you. Sasha Rosen, I know he'll be tuning in, so I want to say hi, Sasha. Hi, Jay. These guys are probably going to be the first to listen to this. So, I wanted to give a little shout out to those guys.
No, I like that. That's actually the first time they've listened to you this season. So this is
Probably, no, probably.
no, this is I appreciate their support, and yeah, I appreciate how easy they have all made my life this year, and certainly I want to talk about them a bunch. But I want to start big picture as we look at 2025 for your team, because back into another Sweet 16 for newer fans of college tennis, that feels like a place where Arizona men's tennis has always been. It has not always been in this place. And I'm curious if the guys understand like how impressive this run of consistency your program has shown really is.
Yeah, I mean, I think the players put the work in, so they know that their work is solid and that they deserve to be here. For the outside people, I think, they see the banners that are hanging in our facility and thinking, oh, Sweet 16, we've done it 4 years out of the last five, that this is just easy. It's not, and it's really tough. It's a nightmare of hard work. I think these guys have put in that time and that effort. And, it really starts when the guys show up on campus in August and, they're looking at the field and they're putting in the hard yards and we're building our team culture. And, and then you get to May and you start seeing the fruits of that, all that labor and all that work. And, I'm proud of the team for doing that. I think consistency for some people isn't a very sexy word, but for me, I think that's as a coach, I think that's one of the coolest things, that compliments you can get is that you've been a consistent program and you guys have been to the Sweet 16, and I'm very proud of that.
No, and I wanted to offer that compliment to you all because sincerely watching your rise, it's kind of corresponded to the rise of this show. And so it's been very fun. It's been a part, again, an annual tradition getting to do this interview. And, again, so many different strengths for your team here this season. And yet, if I would have told you January 1st that on May 8th you would be 26-4, the 10th seed, and getting ready for the round of 16, would that have sounded about right to you?
Yeah, you never know. Obviously, yes, you can see that happening, but you never know. I mean, any good college coach knows that if you just named off those things, you'd pack it in and say that was a great season, and
Yeah.
especially for kind of what we've done in our program. But, I think this team is really hungry from day one to try to go further than we've gone before. I mean, we've been stopped in the round of 16 3 times. I mean, we lost a heartbreaker to Tennessee 4-3 down to Adam Walton and Goose. Then you go to Ohio State and we're, a few points here or there, we lose to them. Then we go to Columbia, we lose 4-3. So we've kind of been knocking on the door. And, I'm hoping we can break through that this year. I think we've got some really nice pieces. We got a huge challenge in front of us. But, I think the experience that some of our players have and the coaches is that we're primed and ready to make that next step. And certainly, I'm hoping that will happen.
Yeah, it's one of everyone's favorite. Yeah, I guess spoiler alert, but I'm asking every coach to name their favorite match that isn't their own, and to a T, it goes, well, yeah, Rafa versus Colton's going to be pretty fun, and like that's usually where the conversation starts, and we go from there. And I want to ask you about that a little later, but coming off of that round two performance, you guys grabbed doubles, tightly contested doubles points, certainly with how they were able to play at one. You then take four first sets, but four matches ultimately pushed to a third. 4-0 sounds good. A little bit of a push by that Harvard team this past weekend. How would you evaluate the guy's performance?
Yeah, Harvard is really good. I was really impressed with their team. I mean, Malofsky might be one of the best players in college tennis. I was super impressed with him throughout the week. They're really good at doubles. It's a hard, Tucson and our crowd and our team, we're a tough out. And I thought they gave us everything we had to handle. And I think we've had like 20 shutouts this year. We've won 26 matches and like 20 of them have been shutouts. But for me as a coach, I'm sitting there kind of like they don't feel like a domination 4-0 shutouts. But I think we've quietly been putting this really awesome resume together, and we have some really really experienced spots, and I think our young guys have gotten better each and every week. But 20 shutouts in a season, I mean, that's an incredible feat. And kudos to the guys. I think they stay locked in. And, even the guys that might be going down and losing, they do a few stall tactics, and they don't get that point on the board for the opposing team. I'm joking, but certainly we've seen that a little in college tennis. But, the team's been very impressive this year. I'm proud of the work they've done. And yeah, I'm excited about where we are right now.
That's very funny. Here's a stat you can use with them. You can say, guys, we're 20-0 in shutout matches. We're 6-4 in the others. So you can throw that one at them and say it's all about the perspective. No, it's been a heck of a year, and 16-1 at home. That's a really impressive number. And to see the connection between Colton and that crowd in his final match to beat a Malofsky, who I agree, if there was a spring NCAA singles tournament, that guy's a sneaky round of 16 or quarterfinalist sort of level right now. But to see the way they sent him off, and to him to be able to be sent off not only with a team win, but him a personal win as well. What was that moment like for you? Any tears in the eye?
Well, going back and looking at the video
Yeah.
that they made afterwards and seeing after the match completed, just his reaction. You put so much time and effort on those courts, and for him to come back and to finish it the way he wanted to, I mean, it speaks volumes to him as a person. But yeah, just watching that video back, I certainly, it pricks your heart a little bit. I'm older now. I'm not so emotional. But no, the yeah, watching that back and seeing Colton, I'd seen him play at Indian Wells. I'd seen him play in Houston. I've seen him play in these pro events. But watching him play for his teammates in front of that crowd, and the joy that he brought those fans in Tucson was really special. And I think it was kind of a reciprocal relationship of, them saying thank you to him for being here and making our team great and setting the bar really high, and him also saying, hey, thank you for believing in me and having my back all these years. And you know, there you go. It's, one last time, and he got us through.
Yeah, no, and I hate to make it the Colton show because I know how much you've been asked about him this year, and there's a lot of other guys I want to ask you about as well. But, again, Tennis Abstract right now, the ELO ratings measures who you play, how you beat them, not where and when, like the ATP rankings. They have him as the 45th best player in the world right now. As I like to joke, sometimes he's the second best player on his team. But just, he obviously had a big summer, a big fall. He wins that challenger in February, and I'm sure that changed the course of things. But was the plan to always allow him that sort of professional circuit freedom? And why was that important to you? I feel like sometimes it was harder for you to push him to go play pros than it probably was for him to actually go off and do it.
Yeah, well, I think what's special about our program is the guys like being in Tucson. They like training here. They like being with each other. They like the environment that we've created. I think, from a tennis standpoint, they like it, but also just the social aspect of being with each other. And it is, it's hard to go away and do it. And I think for Colton, it was as he getting into his senior year, it's like, all right, this is what I want, and I'm going to give it a go. And then having those results over the summer certainly helped. But, you know, I think his dad said it best. He's like, Colton, you're going to earn your way out of college, or you're going to earn whatever opportunities you get. And there's nobody who earned it more than he did this year. I don't know if I've seen a player taking the load he took with his classes and playing for the team and and doing as well as he did. I mean, you get to 160 in the world. I mean, that's incredibly hard. But yeah, I think he's a special kid. But more importantly, I think it's equally impressive what he did within our locker room, bringing our young guys along, being a leader. Whenever he would come back from these events, his presence in the locker room was felt, and everybody just kicked it up two or three levels. And you know, sometimes you're going to get these great individual players, and they're all about themselves, and they're only going to make themselves better. Colton made everyone around him better in the weight room, on the court. He made Jay a lot better player, and certainly I think I credit a lot of Jay's success to, those two guys going out and making each other better each and every day. I mean, you know, the betting markets have him at 45 in the world, but Jay did beat him in a practice set today. So it wasn't just 5 minutes, Alex. It was 45 minutes of greatness. He's starting to extend it. No, but honestly, those two guys, them playing against each other has been a lot of fun to watch. And, I think we have undoubtedly two of the best players in college tennis.
Yeah. Hey, my text will leak someday and it'll say, I think Jay's the most talented guy in college this year. And I'll be perfectly comfortable with that. And again, I want to ask you about all of those guys. Um, whose performance this year, because there are a lot of gaudy numbers. How could there not be? 26-4 overall in the season. Whose performance surprised you most as you evaluate each guy's 2025?
Surprised me most when I look at the number. I mean, two stick out. Well, you should say three. You have a guy who's undefeated on the season, which is awesome.
Sure.
Colton Smith. That's not a huge surprise after what I'd seen. But I would say, obviously, what Jay's done, I mean, being 24-1, 25-1, 10-0 at number one singles when Colton was gallivanting the pro tour. Uh, and then also not a surprise. I think we saw this in him last year, and I think it was Sasha Rosen, Alexander Rosen. I think he's 20-2 on the year. But I think these UTR tournaments are really good. We actually hosted one right before our season, and it was kind of Sasha's breakout moment. And you know, when you sit on the bench for a year and you don't get the opportunity to play, and you're so motivated going into year two. I just saw a kid that really wanted it, that had this like great desire to contribute to our lineup, and he's he won our most improved player in the year. I mean, that's an incredible number. So yeah, I think what Jay's been able to do, just consistency wise, is awesome because some people will say, "Hey, he's just a flash in the pan. He can play a great 5 minutes." Alex, but I mean, the record is unbelievable. I mean, he's 25-1 on the year. I mean, you have to be consistent to do that. And then what Sasha's done, 20-2 on the year. I mean, he's been an unbelievable spot for us. And I'm just happy for him because you see these guys day in and day out and they're struggling and they're trying to figure it out and they're trying to put it all together. But when they actually do it, your heart is like, I'm so proud of it. And it's really cool. And then also just Casper. Um, had Casper played tennis over the Christmas break and not Padel, he didn't play tennis for the 3 weeks over Christmas. Had he been practicing, I think, we would be seeing what we're seeing now. But I mean, he might be the toughest six in the country. We saw that at the Big 12 tournament. He's playing lights out. And I'm really excited to see how he'll finish here.
Yeah, you talk about that Big 12 tournament. I mean, first of all, many thoughts off of that. I think Jay's just done a really good job of stacking 5 minutes. And isn't in the end that's what it all comes down
Perfect.
to? Just stack up your 5 minutes consecutively. It turns into a really impressive match. No, like getting to go to Baylor, and I guess just to say it bluntly, on paper, the path to beat you guys doubles 3-4-6, like because of course Rosen was playing five at the Big 12 tournament. Baylor took doubles. They got first sets at 3, at 4, at 6. They had the path they wanted. And for your team to just so thoroughly prevent that pathway from being exploited, everyone was working their way back in that match. Is that the most impressive performance you've seen from your guys this season?
Yeah, I thought it was a team that when you talk about good programs, how they finishing strong at the end of the year. I thought our team just came in there really businesslike, really workmanlike, and said, "Hey, we want this one, and this is what we're gonna have to do it." And I thought the team was as dialed in as focused as I've seen them all year. I think they carried that over into the NCAA tournament. But you talk about 1, 2, 5, and 6. Then I just had to change the lineup so that maybe we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I don't know, but I even think our two freshmen who've played 3 and 4,
Mm-hmm.
they're right there. I mean, Zoran, I told him this at practice the other day. I'm like, you've like gone unfinished in 7 of your last 8 matches. That's impressive. But like, he's always there. He's in a tough battle in a third set, and he's allowing our team, maybe he gets the match, or maybe he's out on the court long enough and doesn't take a loss. Same thing with Philip. I mean, Philip was up big in many of his last few matches, whether he had match points on UCF or Harvard, had a few match points there. I mean, these guys, they don't get a ton of credit, but a freshman at 3 and 4 doing what they're doing, I'm equally impressed with their resume. And I think, on any given day, they're going to really push anybody they play, and it's going to give our team an opportunity to hopefully find 4 points.
I've been going with Goose for Philip Gustafson, and I remember Gustav Strom. Like that's Goose, so that's a conflict for me because
Gustav Strom's son.
yeah, yeah, that's probably what I'll have to go with moving forward. Yeah, and just again, you talk about the freshmen there, and I know you pride yourself on your culture and the competition you try to foster day in, day out, practice even more so than the matches. 5 months later, are the freshmen up to speed? Like, how would you evaluate it? You kind of alluded to it there, but their acclimation to college tennis this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's also like three or four freshmen who are on our bench who are just as good as anybody on our team. And we have a really deep team. Uh, it's almost like we're holding a dual match and it's just as competitive. I think our B squad would make the NCAA tournament. I know I hate saying that, but I think there's so many good players on our roster. I mean, Cole Stels, what an unbelievable player. I mean, this kid, watch out for this kid in the next few years. We've have so many really good players that are not playing for us right now, and I think that's really pushed the freshmen who are in there. That it's like, hey, if I have a bad day, these guys are looking over my shoulder, wanting to come take my spot, and I think that type of competition is really healthy, and it helps foster these guys to bring it each and every day. But yeah, I think these guys are up to speed. Certainly, you have your moments, and you really have your moments with a couple of these freshmen. Um, but I think it really helped with patience. When you have six of these guys, and they forget that yesterday he forgot his shoes to the practice, so that really changed the practice dynamic a little bit. But in all seriousness, it's like raising kids. It's been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it. There's been some headaches, but watching them grow and develop into young men and pretty good tennis players, I'm pretty proud of it.
Yeah, shoes behind, rackets there. Oh, we got to go back to the restaurant. I forgot my wallet. I'm sure you've gone through it all. And by the way, 13-man roster this season. That's going to be big no matter what size you traditionally hold. What was the reasoning behind that? Do you if the rules allow it, would you stay that way?
Yeah, because I think I everybody in our team, it's like we brought you here because we think you're going to play for us. It may not happen right now, but if you keep improving, you keep doing it, look at what Sasha's been able to do. Jay started off at number 6. He was fighting for his life his freshman year to get in the lineup. Look what how he's been able to go up. I think it's one of these really, really cool things when you have a developmental program to bring these guys in and you just keep improving each and every day. And then maybe you played 8 or 9 your first year, and then you're playing 5 or 6, and then you're 3 and 4, and hopefully they keep moving up. I like a big roster. I wouldn't say, 12, 13, yeah, it's big, but it also is fun because, you can roll out with a dual match. You can do a lot of different things with them. You can play, we like to play football with each other. It can get heated. When you get those smaller numbers down, it's a little bit tougher, but I like a roster of 12. I think that's a healthy number. I think 10 is a little cutting it short, and hearing some teams going to 9, you know, I think you're going to be worrying about the injury bug a little bit, but certainly, yeah, there was a reason why we did this, and I think when you're recruiting, you just kind of fall in love with some kids, and you're like, I really want that kid, and then you're like, oh my gosh, we have probably too many, but I think that's a good part of going out and trying to find the kids that are right for your program.
Do you have defined van crews? I mean, it's May. Like, you definitely have crews.
Yeah. Yeah, we have the same cars. We early in the season, our coaches, we drafted our cars, the players we wanted. you know, Sometime, maybe we try to kick them out of our cars if they're getting a little annoying. But no, it is the same thing within our team. It's as competitive as a coaching group. Um, but I just think if we're gonna do this, let's have as much fun as we do. Everyone sees me or this program as this like serious, intense dude. And don't get me wrong, I'm all those things. But also, like, I think these road trips, that this whole college experience should be the very best 4 years of your life. And we're gonna have a lot of fun on road trips. Every trip we're picking a new song. We're playing it about 30 times a day. It is engraved in your head. But no, this is a fun group. I've loved being on these road trips and being with them all season.
I'm glad you talked about the transaction. True or false? You offered 2 future first-round picks and Philip for the rights to Oscar.
You're gonna have to say that one again. I didn't follow.
Yeah,
You
no,
get what?
again, for your van, you said, I'll give you
Okay, yes,
Philip.
yes.
Yeah, you could have first round pick 26, 27, and I get Oscar. Um,
Yeah. Well, we got Oscar this week. We're pulling him over, and
the
sometimes
dark side.
then you can just grab these guys and put them in there. But, Jay's kind of been in my car. I've had Eric
Okay.
Padgham all year. And so, then we get a few freshmen and we try to bring them under our wing.
I like that. No, that's fun. Again, a lot of road time, I'm sure, and again, a lot of good matches this season. You played 30 of them to date. Is there one where you learned the most about this team this season?
I think playing UCF in Orlando was like kind of our defining moment of our season because I just felt like the team, no one beats Arizona twice, and we went in and they got it out from under us. And, I think the team was feeling very confident at that moment. And I think there was a lot of soul searching after that match. And I think it was really important for our team to kind of regroup. And it really changed the dynamic of our season. We started kind of putting some new things in our program of getting the guys relationships to be a little deeper to help, their problem solving more. But that was a big one for us. And I mean, hats off to their team. They got the win for us. But I almost would look back and say, thank you, Lloyd. Thank you, UCF. I don't know if we would have had the season we had we not gone through that. And it really changed a lot of things within our program. And then obviously winning the Big 12 title, you want to maybe see another shot at TCU. They're the number 2 team. They got us earlier, but you kind of play the draw you're given. And, you know, it's almost sometimes harder to beat a team you're supposed to beat, or to beat a team that's beaten you twice. And so seeing our team respond against UCF in the finals was really awesome. And then just keeping it going. I think there's a lot of teams that can win a conference championship, and then, they falter in the NCAA tournament. I think the team is as hungry and they're working as hard as they've ever worked all season. And that gives me some hope that there's still more life in the season and that we can keep it going.
No, I love to hear that. I do always wonder, it's a random theory, but you got to play UCF 3 times this year. And just to have a program as a benchmark to measure yourself with or chase or just to have that extracurricular edge with. Like, I mean, they're still alive in the Sweet 16 as well. The silly theory is, should you schedule a similar in level team 3 times in a season, knowing that having that benchmark first, second, third matchup can be so valuable? Is that what UCF really was for you guys? It sounds like this year.
Yeah, I think they just the first time they got us, on our home courts to go to the National Indoor Championships, and they just wanted it more than us, and that's just rarely happens in our program. So it kind of woke us up. The second time, I just think the guys, Colton was coming back and we're feeling really good, and there's just the feeling of, hey, there's no way we can lose this match. And then we ended up losing. And then, the third time around, it was just like, there's no way this is happening. And I don't think they would want to spend any time in the car with me if we lost to a team 3 times in a row. But they're a really good team, and I'm super happy for them in our conference,
Mhm.
like to go and to get through and to be in the Sweet 16. They're a really good team, and I think at times people are saying some of the same things they said about UCF about us, that we're just a gritty team. No, those guys can play top to bottom. They're good doubles players. They play together. They've got great energy. They're gritty. Like I think that's the real deal, and they've done a heck of a job. And it's good for us in our conference to develop a little bit of this grittiness and toughness. And certainly playing in the Pac-12, there was plenty of talent, but I don't think it's as gritty as what we've seen in the Big 12.
Speaking of the Pac 12, is there a group chat between yourself, Paul, Billy, where it's like, hey, nice job, fellas?
Well, I sent some messages, to some of the former members, but yeah, I mean, it even makes what we did last year, winning the Pac-12, even more special. Stanford winning the ACC, UCLA going in and beating Ohio State on their home courts and winning, the Big Ten. I mean, if we had a team in the SEC, I don't know. But no, I think the Pac-12 last year was so strong. It was such a good conference, top to bottom. And man, to leave that conference as the top dog forever is something I think that team will always share together.
Yeah, it's trying to think. Arizona State's east enough. It's kind of. But no, that's good. And yeah, it was really impressive what we saw on the other side. If you could go back to January 1st and reallocate more time in practice for one thing for this group, whether it's on or off the court, what might it be and why?
Hmm. I wish we'd have played more beach volleyball. Um, Honestly, we were playing beach volleyball the other day. It was like the scene from Top Gun, and I was kicking myself the whole time. I was like, I can't believe we haven't been playing more beach volleyball this year. It was really just really fun to see the team compete in something outside of tennis. And like, you know, they were coming together as a group, they're competing, and I just was kicking myself because we used to always play, a different sport every week, and we kind of got away from it this year. But like, yeah, I'd probably say we should have played more beach volleyball this year. I think the team got closer. I think they found like a competitive edge, and the tennis type of stuff, whatever, it all kind of plays itself out. But certainly I'm going to put that on my agenda. More beach volleyball next year, and we're going to follow up on that.
No, there are rumors flying around that the Arizona team played too much tennis this year. That's the rumors on the street. I like that. You know, it just speaks to yeah, it's a competitive bunch. That's why they're certainly fun to be around. And I know you're focused obviously on 2025 and the present, but this week it's impossible as in your job not to take a look at the transfer portal, which of course opened for everyone. How do you view the transfer portal in the broader context of roster construction?
Generally, I hate it. And from this standpoint, I think there's something super special about your freshman, your sophomore, your junior, and your senior year, and doing that whole time with that staff. There's nothing more special and sweet than grinding and going through the ups and downs and getting to your senior year, and then you're like, all right, we're boys. Like we got here, we found a mutual respect. There's like this, I want this as bad as you want this. Like there's something really, really special about it. I understand the landscape of it. I just think we're missing out a little bit because so much of these relationships and growth, and it happens later. It happens in your senior year. The things that you went through as a freshman and sophomore year, you great such a great deal of appreciation for each other. And the senior year is special. It's one of the things that we do in our program. We play for our seniors. And those seniors don't get to the end of the finish line. They don't give their senior speech. They don't get to, have coach say you're playing for these three guys without them having to actually do something and to earn some respect and to earn some like sense of, hey, we're going to go kill ourselves on these courts and do everything we can to be successful because we're doing it for those guys. I think that's really sweet. Now, I think it's different in other sports, but I also look at this as a cautionary tale of I see a lot of names in there, and I don't think there's that many spots available. And I think it's a mistake. I think it's a tough thing. I hope kids have thought this out because the grass isn't always greener on the other side. And I just don't know if there's that many spots. And I think some kids are going to get, a week, 2, 3 weeks down the road and realize, what did I do? Maybe it wasn't so, it was good where I had it. And so that's my biggest thing. I hope everyone who wants to find a new spot does. But ultimately, that my greatest worry is that the kid who thinks they're going to jump in there and find something and there's no opportunities for them are left out, and you know that's a tough spot.
No, and certainly as it relates to the portal, oftentimes the opportunities some are. I don't want to say oftentimes because every case is very different, but some certainly enter the portal looking for NIL opportunities, and
Sure.
that has become more prevalent. How prevalent is it in the conversations you have recruiting, whether it be transfer portal or just again a 4-year player?
Well, I think we're all kind of waiting on this lawsuit to pass, this House lawsuit, which is supposed to pass in April, and it's looking like it's coming to the end of the finish line. I think this NIL, a lot of this NIL stuff is going to go away, because at least that's what I'm being told, is that this is now going to be more of an in-house thing, that it's not going to be a pay for play. Any NIL deals that you get are going to have to go through a clearinghouse and actually be vetted. And, they said that 98% of these NIL deals aren't actually like legit, like you're not actually using your name, image, and likeness to get this. So I I'm curious what this is going to look like. I think we're in this really interesting time right now, and that's why it's even more important for us as a program. We're just doubling down on what we do well, like invest in the kids, invest in our program, invest in developing the guys. And look, if the guys are having a great experience, I don't think they're going to leave. I don't think they're going to try to see if there's something better. I think we do a really good job on our culture and developing our players. And I don't worry about that for my roster. Maybe we'll see, in a week, but I'll be biting my tongue. But I just think it's one of these things that's adding another component to this. And I think there's many life lessons to learn about going from start to finish in a program.
Yeah.
And I hope that at some point maybe we get back to that.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Certainly, the uncertainty surrounding it all feels like the most frustrating part for everyone involved. And so, I appreciate all of you coaches being candid and answering that question. My last two for you, going to ask you to put on the pundit hat here. I know you're locked in to your matchup. Very fun one with Virginia, and you don't have the luxury of answering it here for this question because, of course, you're playing in that match. But if you could pick one of the other round of 16 matches to just lock in on, which intrigues you most is why and why?
Well, I think TCU and UCF, just because of what happened last time in our conference, and UCF getting them, and I'm hoping TCU's healthy because I think they're one of the best teams in the country when they are. I think that one's going to be fun. I would like to watch that. Um, and then I think actually USC and UCLA, I think that's really interesting. I mean, USC's gotten them twice this year. It's more than just a Sweet 16 matchup. You just USC and UCLA, they don't like each other. They want to beat each other. So I think there's more to that match than just the NCAA tournament. And, I think UCLA is one of the hottest teams in the country, but USC's gotten them twice and see what they can do. Outside of that, if I'm being honest, I probably couldn't tell you the other matchups. I haven't looked. I honestly haven't looked. We were just trying to survive Harvard
Yeah.
and get through our thing, but I think that's the two interesting matchups that I know about. Outside of that, I couldn't tell you who's playing who.
I only needed one, so I'll take two. That's again two
No.
times the answer I was looking for. I appreciate it, and no, I mean again, as I alluded to earlier, every other coach is answering your match, of course, and it's going to be such a fun one as you guys take on the Who's in Charlottesville, and again. I don't know how much film you've had the chance to watch on them already, but certainly knowing a bunch of those highly touted freshmen, your thoughts on what their biggest strength is as a group and what it's going to take for your guys to knock them out?
Yeah, I think obviously their culture, they have a very rich culture, and you come to Virginia and the expectation is very high, and they've won some national championships. And so certainly the bar has been set very high here. We're kind of the up and coming team. And I think we have two totally different cultures. And I'm very interested to see how they clash. They have tradition, they have incredibly gifted players and very highly recruited players. And we have a mismatch of players who've put together a really good top 10 roster. And but I think underlying all of that, I think there's something deeper in our culture. And we go by this kind of a slogan, culture wins. And it's not about one individual, it's not about one player, but it's about the collective culture and how we're going to go about doing it. And so I'm more curious just to see, does our culture match up to this powerhouse program here in Virginia? You see it's the biggest scoreboard I've ever seen in my entire life. It's like, I mean, it has to be the biggest. I mean, the facilities are fantastic. I've never played on a nicer court in my life. It's a very beautiful setting. There's a lot of very nice things here. And I think I'm really curious to see if our gritty kind of in your face culture can survive this.
It's going to be a really fun match. Again, everyone's talking Rafa versus Colton. Jay versus Dylan is just as good. Like, there are some really good matches up and down the board. And I proposed this theory to Andreas to prevent everyone in the building, fans and players on court alike, from watching their match. Only if it gets to 3-all overall should Rafa and Colton start. And then it's like, all right, now everyone can watch them and we can all have the fun we deserve. But it's more than just that. To your point, again, two very fun programs going head to head. Everything college tennis fans are looking for. So, Arizona men's tennis head coach Clancy Shields, thank you as always for taking the time to chat. And sincerely, good luck to you and the guys here this weekend.
Thanks for having me on.
Recording